Peppa Pig. Beep beep. Broom. George's noisy vehicle book. Peppa and her family are going for a picnic in the countryside. Hooray! Cries Peppa. I love picnics. George loves picnics too. But he wants to stay at home and play with his toys. Cheer up, George. We'll have a lovely day, says Daddy Pig, beeping his horn. Beep, beep, giggles George. He likes their noisy red car. Off they drive down the hill. But what's that noise? It's Mr. Zebra's post van.
Wow!
We're stuck in a traffic jam, says Mr. Zebra. Oh dear, says Daddy Pig. This isn't a good start. Honk honk, laughs George. At last they're on the move. But what's that noise? It's Mr. Bull's digger. Moo! You'll have to wait, bellows Mr. Bull. We're digging up the road! Not another delay, cries Mummy Pig. Dig, 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 laughs George. At last, Mr. Bull has finished and off they go.
Hooray!
But what's that noise? It's a fire engine.
Wow!
You'll have to wait while I put out the fire, shouts Mrs. Sheep. Nah, cries George, bouncing up and down on the back seat. At last the fire is put out, and off they go.
Hooray!
But what's that noise? It's a train. Daddy Pig has to stop while the train whizzes past. Kiki! Laughs George. Can we go home for our picnic? Asks Peppa. What a good idea, says Mummy Pig. But George doesn't want to go home. He's loved seeing all the noisy vehicles. Cheer up, George, says Peppa. You'll be able to play with all your noisy toys. And he does. The end. Peppa Pig, Canal Boat. Today, Peppa and George are visiting the dog family to celebrate Captain Dog's birthday.
Hooray!
His cake has a sailing boat decoration on it.
Wow!
Open your present, says Mummy Dog. It's a boat trip, says Captain Dog. That's just what I wanted. Captain Dog puts on his captain's hat and daydreams about their trip. You can go anywhere you want with a sailing boat, says Captain Dog. He imagines sailing to a beautiful tropical island. Then Captain Dog imagines spotting a big blue whale from his sailing boat. He can't wait for the adventure to begin.
Wow!
All aboard! Cries Captain Dog. He tries to raise the sail, but he can't see it anywhere. Canal boats do not have sails. Just push the button to make it start, says Mummy Dog. Oh, I see. Off we go, says Captain Dog. Captain Dog decides to go faster. You should slow down, says Mummy Dog. They are getting close to a mountain. Look out, shouts Peppa. We're going to crash. No, we're going into the tunnel, says Mummy Dog calmly. It is exciting inside the tunnel.
Wow.
It's gone all dark, gasped Danny. And our voices sound funny, says Peppa. This canal boat is fun after all, says Captain Dog. Soon they approach a second mountain. There must be another tunnel, says Captain Dog. Actually, we're going over it this time, says Mummy Dog. We call this a lock. Carefully, Captain Dog stops the boat. Watch, I'll show you, says Mummy Dog. She opens up the gates to the lock. And Captain Dog drives the boat in. Then Mummy Dog closes the lock gates and lets the water pour in slowly from the other side. We're going up, gasped Peppa. The boat is lifted up as the lock fills with water. Mummy Dog opens the gates and Captain Dog drives the boat out of the lock. We're in the sky, shouts Peppa. We're sailing over a bridge, says Danny.
Wow.
I've sailed through the mountains and across the sky, says Captain Dog. This is my best birthday ever. The end. Peppa Pig, Candy Cat. This is Peppa's friend, Candy Cat.
Meow.
Candy is good at skipping.
Wow.
Watch, Peppa,
Meow.
says Candy. Can you count with me?
Okay, Peppa nods.
1, 2, 3.
Candy's mummy works with Daddy Pig.
Mummy's job is all about drawing shapes on a computer,
Meow.
Says Candy.
What a nice job.
Says Peppa. Peppa and Candy have lots of fun together at playgroup.
Today we are doing ballet,
Meow.
Says Candy.
Let's dance,
Says Peppa.
follow me.
Sometimes Peppa and Candy go to the petting farm.
Wow.
It is full of tiny little animals.
I love the chicks,
Meow.
Says Candy.
I love the guinea pigs.
Says Peppa. Peppa has lots of fun with her friend Candy, even when they both want to dress up as witches. And they still have a magical time. Peppa loves Candy Cat. Everyone loves Candy Cat. The end. Peppa Pig, George and the Dinosaur.
Dinosaur!
Roar! Shouted George. George and his friends, Richard Rabbit and Edmund Elephant, loved dinosaurs. Wherever they went, they were always searching for fossils, stones and bones. In the sandpit, at the playground, and even in Grandpa Pig's garden. One day, when Richard and Edmund came to play, Mammy Pig had a special surprise. "We're going on a fossil hunting adventure at the beach," she said, "with Miss Rabbit the fossil hunter."
Are fossils always dinosaurs, Mummy?
asked Peppa. "They can also be the remains of plants or animals from a long, long time ago," explained Mammy Pig. The children put on their fossil hunting clothes and packed their bags with special tools and fact books. "Ready to go exploring?" Mammy Pig asked. "Yes!" cheered Peppa, George and George's friends, jumping up and down.
Hooray!
The brave explorers set off to meet Miss Rabbit at the beach. The tide was high last night, said Miss Rabbit when they arrived. Hopefully there'll be lots of wonderful things whipped up by the waves for us to discover. Yippee! Cheered the children. But if not, you can always buy fossils from my shop at the end, Miss Rabbit continued. There's an offer on today, 2 for the price of 1. Miss Rabbit took out her fossil collection to show the children. This swirly rock is an ammonite, she said, and these shiny rocks are called fool's gold. Miss Rabbit held up some little rocks with gold bits in them. Ooh, gold, gasped Peppa. I love hunting for treasure. Unfortunately, it's not real gold, Peppa, explained Miss Rabbit, but it's lovely and shiny. This one's a permanite, said Edmund, looking at Miss Rabbit's fossils. It's an extinct mollusk, and I believe that one is a fossilized poo. Poo! Snorted the other children. Don't worry, said Edmund. The poo is millions of years old. Edmund Elephant was very clever. Wow, said Miss Rabbit. You really know your stuff, Edmund. George pulled out a dinosaur book from his bag. Dinosaur! Wow! He asked, showing Miss Rabbit a picture of a dinosaur. No one has ever found a complete dinosaur skeleton on this beach, I'm afraid, George, said Miss Rabbit. But you might find some little fossils like the ones in my collection. Then Miss Rabbit turned to them all and said, Now, shall we get started? Peppa walked along the beach, looking at the ground, but she soon gave up. I can't see anything, Mammy, she said. Just lots and lots of sand and stones. I'm going to build a sandcastle instead. Meanwhile, George, Edmund and Richard explored the beach together. They took their fossil hunting mission very seriously. After Peppa had finished her sandcastle, she peered over at George. Look, Mummy, she called. George has found something. Mummy Pig and Miss Rabbit looked over at George. Their mouths dropped open. The explorers pointed to a huge rock further down the beach.
Oh dear, Mummy Pig, sighed Miss Rabbit. It looks like you're bringing the whole beach home with you. Hello, George, said Mummy Pig. What do we have here then?
Dinosaur,
said George, holding his arms out on as wide as he could go.
big dinosaur. We believe this rock contains a complete skeleton of a dinosaur,
Explained Edmund.
George found footprints in the rocks near it, which are a clear sign. Can you help us crack it open, please?
Are you sure it's not just a big rock? Mummy Pig asked. But then Miss Rabbit took a closer look at it and pulled out her phone. Yes, that's right. Very big, she said into her phone. Please come immediately. Soon after, Mr. Rabbit arrived in a big truck with a team of helpers. Very carefully, they lifted the rock onto the truck. We'll meet you at the museum, Mr. Rabbit called out as they drove off. At the museum, everyone watched excitedly as Mr. Rabbit and his team cracked open the rock. Everyone gasped. Mr. Rabbit was the first to speak. What we have here is a complete skeleton of a...
Dinosaur,
interrupted George. That is correct. It is a dinosaur. In fact, it is a triceratops, confirmed Mr. Rabbit. George, you are an expert fossil hunter, aren't you? This is an amazing dinosaur discovery. Wow! Everyone cried, looking at the skeleton. Even Peppa was impressed. Now, said Mr. Rabbit, what shall we call this incredible dinosaur?
George saw us the first,
cried Peppa.
because George saw the dinosaur first.
Roar! cheered George. Everyone laughed. In this case, I officially named this dinosaur the Georgeosaurus Roar, announced Mr. Rabbit. A big dinosaur like this needs a big name like that. Everyone loves fossil hunting and dinosaurs, especially George, the dinosaur expert. The end.
Peppa Pig, Delphine Donkey. This is Peppa's friend, Delphine Donkey.
Hooray!
Delphine lives in France.
Wow!
Peppa speaks English. Delphine speaks French. Hello, says Peppa. Bonjour, says Delphine. Delphine lives in a city called Paris. Peppa and her family like to go and visit. Sometimes we travel on a train, says Peppa. And sometimes we travel on a boat. Peppa and Delphine love exploring Paris together. They go to parks, jump in puddles and visit cafes.
Wow!
Would you like a croissant? asked Delphine. Says Peppa. Yes, please. In the holidays, Delphine comes to stay at Peppa's house. They sleep at each end of Peppa's bunk bed. I like sharing with you, says Delphine. Peppa has lots of fun with her friend Delphine. They don't see each other very often. But that makes it extra special when they do.
Hooray!
Peppa loves Delphine Donkey. Everyone loves Delphine Donkey. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa and her golden boots. It was the day of the big puddle jumping competition. Peppa and her friends were practicing jumping up and down in muddy puddles. My daddy always wins, boasted Peppa. He said the first rule of puddle jumping is to wear your boots, and mine are very special because they are made of gold. They are not gold, replied Susie Sheep. They're yellow. They are not yellow, they're real plastic gold, protested Peppa. Would anyone like some orange juice? Called Mummy Pig from the house. Yes, please, replied everyone. They ran inside, leaving their boots outside the front door. When Peppa and her friends had finished their juice, they headed outside to put on their boots. Oh no, my boots have gone, sobbed Peppa. Mr. Zebra arrived with the post. I've just seen a duck with boots on, he said. Peppa sniffed. Were they gold? No, yellow, he replied. Mrs. Duck came running down the hill wearing Peppa's golden boots. Peppa ran after her. Mrs. Duck, can I please have my boots back, please? But Mrs. Duck did not want to give Peppa's boots back. She didn't stop running until she reached Captain Dog's boat. No one could stop Mrs. Duck. She leapt into the water and swam away. Captain Dog started his engine. I think my boat can go faster than that duck, he exclaimed. But Captain Dog's boat could not keep up with Mrs. Duck. That's a fast duck, he said. Mrs. Duck finally stopped at a little island where Grampy Rabbit had been shipwrecked when his boat capsized. Mrs. Duck has my boots and she won't give them back, Peppa called. Don't worry, Peppa, replied Grampy Rabbit. Mrs. Duck has nowhere to go. But then Mrs. Duck started flying and she was still wearing the boots. Oh no, cried Peppa. Mrs. Duck is flying to the moon with my boot. Don't worry, Peppa, said Grampy Rabbit, pointing to the neighbouring island. We'll take my rocket. I really don't think Peppa's boots will be on the moon, said Mummy Pig. Nonsense, insisted Grampy Rabbit, helping everyone into the rocket. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! On the moon, Peppa and her friends searched everywhere for Mrs. Duck and the golden boots. Let's ask at the shop, suggested Susie Sheep. You don't get shops on the moon, exclaimed Daddy Pig. Postcards, called Mrs. Rabbit from inside her gift shop. Ice cream, buckets and spades. Meanwhile, Grandpa Pig had spotted Mrs. Duck in his garden. Those aren't your boots, are they? He asked. He quickly dialed Daddy Pig's number. Oh, hello, Grandpa Pig, said Daddy Pig. Yes, Peppa has lost some boots. We'll be right there. Next stop, Grandpa Pig's garden, announced Grampy Pig. Peppa bounced excitedly out of the rocket. My boots, my golden boots, she exclaimed. Thank you, Grandpa. Grandpa Pig helped Peppa to put her boots on. Now we can go to the puddle jumping competition, said Mammy Pig. Oh, yes, agreed Daddy Pig. We'd better hurry. The big puddle jumping competition was about to begin. First up, Daddy Pig, cried Mr. Potato. Daddy Pig took a giant leap and made a very big splash. Then it was Mr. Elephant's turn, and Mr. Elephant made an even bigger splash. Mr. Elephant is the winner, announced Mr. Potato. Peppa cleared her throat. Please, can I have a go too? She asked. Oh, of course, replied Mr. Potato. And can all of my friends help? Peppa added. Mr. Elephant was not pleased. Hang on, I don't think that's really... It sounds perfectly fair to me, interrupted Daddy Pig. Peppa and her friends formed a circle and held hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, they all chanted. Jump! Whee! Peppa and her friends made the biggest splash ever. Peppa and her friends are the winners, declared Mr. Potato. I still think, began Mr. Elephant. Hooray! Everyone cheered loudly. Peppa loved her golden boots. Everyone loved their boots. And everyone loved the big puddle jumping competition. The end. Peppa Pig, Strawberries. Grandpa Pig is showing Peppa and George the strawberry he has grown. Why is it hiding in a little house, Grandpa? asked Peppa. Because the cheeky birds have eaten the rest of my strawberries, and I need to protect this last one, says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig tells Peppa that they can still eat strawberries. He knows the perfect place to go. Everybody in the car, he says. It's time to visit the strawberry farm. Have you come to pick strawberries? asked Miss Rabbit when they arrive. Yes, please, Miss Rabbit, says Peppa excitedly. Then you've come to the right place. We've got nothing but strawberries, says Miss Rabbit. Pick as many as you like. Miss Rabbit takes Peppa, George, Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig out to the strawberry fields and gives them each a basket to put their strawberries in.
Wow!
Gasped Peppa.
There are so many strawberries.
Pedro Pony and his family are at the strawberry farm too.
Hello, Pedro.
Cries Peppa.
Have you picked a lot of strawberries? Yes,
Replies Pedro.
but my mummy and daddy keep eating them.
Mr. and Mrs. Pony sigh. They have eaten too many strawberries. Peppa and George giggle. They love skipping along, picking strawberries and putting them in their baskets.
I must say, these strawberries do look lovely,
Says Granny Pig.
The real test is to see if the strawberries taste any good.
Says Grandpa Pig, picking up a big juicy strawberry and biting into it.
Actually, that is rather good.
Granny Pig eats a strawberry too.
Scrumptious.
Granny and Grandpa Pig eat lots of strawberries. Peppa and George are very good at picking strawberries and have nearly filled up their baskets. Peppa sings a song as they pick up the strawberries.
Strawberry, strawberry, juicy, red and sweet. Strawberry, strawberry, they're so nice to eat.
Peppa and George's baskets are full of strawberries, but Granny and Grandpa Pig's baskets are empty.
Granny, Grandpa, where are your strawberries?
Asks Peppa.
In our tummies.
Replies Grandpa Pig.
Maybe it's time to go home.
Says Granny Pig, rubbing her tummy. Danny Dog and his family has just arrived at the farm, ready to pick some strawberries. Wow, look at all these lovely strawberries, says Captain Dog.
Don't say that word,
Groans Grandpa Pig, holding his tummy. Granny and Grandpa Pig have eaten too many strawberries.
Thank you for all the strawberries, Miss Rabbit,
Says Peppa.
Now we can go home and make strawberry jam for everyone.
Say Granny and Grandpa Pig.
Maybe we'll do that tomorrow, Peppa.
Peppa and George love strawberries. Everyone loves strawberries. Peppa Pig. Peppa's Fantastic Unicorn. It's after bedtime, but George can't sleep. Peppa decides to tell him a story about her fantastic unicorn.
Once upon a time there was a pig called Peppa,
Says Peppa.
and she had a unicorn that could fly.
Wow.
Peppa and her unicorn were looking for Peppa's brother George, the brave dinosaur trainer. Peppa and her unicorn travelled through an enchanted forest. They flew across the starry night sky and over deep blue oceans. But they couldn't find George anywhere. So the unicorn used a special magic spell to find George. He was with his favourite creatures, the dinosaurs. George had been tucked up asleep all day. Good night, George,
whispers Peppa. The end. Peppa Pig. Peppa plays cricket. Peppa and George are in the garden. Susie Sheep has come to play.
Hello,
says Susie. Daddy Pig is looking after the children. He finds his sun hat and turns on the radio. What a lovely day, says Daddy Pig. I'll sit here so I can watch you.
Daddy,
calls Peppa.
are you asleep?
Huh? Sputters Daddy Pig. Of course not. I was listening to the cricket.
It must be very boring if it makes you go to sleep,
says Susie. Daddy Pig shakes his head. He loves cricket. Daddy Pig fetches a bat and ball and some sticks.
What are those for?
asks Peppa. Cricket, says Daddy Pig. I'm going to show you how to play. Peppa, George and Susie cheer. Hooray! Daddy Pig pushes 3 big sticks into the ground, then rests 2 little sticks on top. This is the wicket, says Daddy Pig.
Wicket!
laughs George, knocking the sticks over. Daddy Pig puts them back up again. The wicket is important in cricket. Daddy Pig gives the ball to Peppa. She is going to be the bowler. Lift the ball up high, says Daddy Pig, then run along the grass and let go. Whee! laughs Peppa.
Oh,
Peppa runs so fast she forgets to let go. Daddy Pig shows George how to swing the bat. Bowl again, please, Peppa, says Daddy Pig. Peppa lifts the ball up high, runs and lets go. George swings the bat and knocks over the wicket. Never mind, George, says Daddy Pig. I'll help you swing the bat. George keeps trying with Daddy Pig's help. Pop! He hits the ball. Catch it, Susie! shouts Daddy Pig. Susie jumps up and catches the ball. Mammy Pig calls everyone inside. It is tea time. Cricketers always stop for tea, says Daddy Pig. And sandwiches and cake.
cake!
Here's George. George loves cricket. Everyone loves cricket. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.